Alright, I'm strong. So at the time you're watching this, group stage for Masters Shanghai are over. Matchups have been drawn. We know who the 4 first matchups in the bracket will be. I don't know that yet. As I'm recording this, I'm waiting on the finish for Foot versus Leviathan, coming at 1-1. And then for the draw. I will know by the time I record most of this. But what I was thinking was, okay, look, obvious next video to do is a playoff preview of some sort. So how do I best do that? Now, with 8 teams, with the best will in the world, to go into the sort of detail that I'd like to on those teams, just doing it straight up, it's going to be like a 2-hour video. You're not going to watch that, let's be real. Unless I go into, see, the problem with Arsenal is they always try to walk it in mode, just rely on cliches, rely on crap, I'm not doing that. So this is how we're going to do it. I've already skimmed through the teams in terms of the vetoes. I checked what I reckon the third map would be in each case, assuming the veto goes with how I think it would, which would be higher seed picks team B, and then it just kind of goes on preferences. Now, the majority of series at this tournament already, so 7 out of 10, have gone to third map. Historically, it's about 50-50, whether a series goes to third map. But it's less about, oh, we'll definitely see that third map, more about, I think it tends to tell you a lot more about the team, strategically particularly. The third map compared to either of the first two. Because third map generally implies you're going down to third or fourth in the team's match pool. That's where things get fun. Because look, top 1 or 2 maps, you're probably great on them. You're great because you figured out some things that the rest of the league hasn't, maybe just a lot more developed on it, there can be various reasons. You can say a lot about you as a team, but as a matchup, it's not going to tell you that much. And the way you're playing on that, you can consider that more the exception rather than the rule, to some extent. Now, once you get to 3 or 4, that's more interesting. So this video isn't about Vitality, I'm going to use Vitality as an example of this. Top of our map pool this season, Breeze and Sunset. Easy. I know our actual record on Sunset had a few hiccups in the end. I would say, for reasons I'm not going to get into publicly, we had an edge on those maps. However, the next map in our pool was Icebox. That was pretty clearly number 3 for us internally for all the season. Now, this is the thing with Icebox. We looked great. Not great. We looked good against both Heretics and Foot, who are both... Well, Heretics are already in playoffs. Foot may still make playoffs at the time of recording. We looked great on them, and then we played GM and Koi and got absolutely stomped. I don't want to get too deep into... There's a lot of stuff going on here, basically, that I don't want to get into publicly at this point. And even me sort of conflating the 2 losses isn't particularly accurate, but whatever. The point is, this was a map we were very good on, but then 2 teams who were at the lower end of the table completely stomped on us. There were flaws that got exposed in it, so you kind of saw the best of Vitality, you saw the worst of Vitality between those 4 maps in the regular season, right? That makes sense. And our number 4 map was Lotus. I think our record was a little misleading here. I think we could have easily beaten Fnatic, we could have easily lost to Gentlemates, we should have probably beaten Giants. But that's the point as well. That's number 4 on the map, it's going to be a common third map. And on that map, we could beat anybody, we could lose to anybody, ignore the Na'Vi result. There's a bit of a comp thing going on there. So that's why I say third map can tell you a lot about a team. Because even if you're the best team in the world, by the time you get down to, let's say, 4th in your map pool, there are going to be like glowing red points in terms of, oh, these are potential flaws that can be exploited here, this is ways the team itself can kind of implode. That's why I'm talking about the third map. And I scanned through already to make sure that this wasn't going to be a case of, okay, every map's going to be split or something like that, and I'm just going to be doing 4 different splits. No. So I don't know what the draws are going to be yet, but we should be good. Because by my simulations, there are 5 maps that I think could possibly come out third across all matchups. They're reasonably distributed. If we got, just all split, then unlucky, but I probably won't put this video out, so assuming it hasn't been the case. And for reference, the 2 exceptions were Sunset. It's a high pick ban priority by basically every team left. Fnatic perma it, G2 basically perma it, PRX will highly contest it. It won't get to third very often. And Breeze along the same sort of lines. It's PRX is perma, Foots it's near perma. EasyGO and Fnatic are like to highly prioritise it. The NA teams don't love it and don't like to see it third generally. So it gets picked and banned enough times it doesn't make it to Vita. So we won't be doing Sunset, we won't be doing Breeze, which is a little unlucky in that context, I suppose. But we should get at least 3 of the other 5, 4 of the other 5. So I'll come back to you in a bit and we'll see where we are. Okay, so we have the full draw. PRX versus G2. That was the first one. 100 Thieves versus Foot. EDG versus Heretics. Fnatic versus Gen.G. So we will be looking at Icebox, Ascent, Split, and Lotus. And I'll show you the way I got to those things. I'm a little bit annoyed actually because I started doing some prep before the actual results, and I was like, okay, like 4 of these matchups, 3 of these 4 matchups, something like that, Fnatic will probably play bind third. The one they don't is Gen.G, so of course they get Gen.G. But whatever, we rally, we go on. So we're going to start out with Paper X versus G2. Just put the Vita up here just so you can see the logic basically. Sunset Breeze, picks Ascent, picks Lotus, bind Split, bind Split. I think it's probably going to be Icebox third map. So there's that. Right. So going to start with G2. I mean, I should also say, you can never really know what side Thieves are going to pick. I'm probably just going to assume here that they're going to pick the side that I think is going to be better for them in terms of whether to get the most rounds, have the most advantage, but whatever. And to be clear, again, the assumption here is upper seed picks Team B, therefore lower seed gets side choice, whatever. Now, G2 versus PRX, starting with G2's attack versus PRX's defense. Now, G2's attack is... So obviously, by the way, comp-wise, you can see G2 run the Harbour, which is like a thing that I think only them and Leviathan do now. I think Apex run it in Polaris. It's not bad, but it is an interesting way of playing. Right. Anyway, I'm not going to speak to generalities on the comp. The thing you're basically getting with the Harbour is that wall is extremely powerful. You get the chance to keep using that wall. You get the chance to put forward those. You get the orb full of plants. The big thing, conceptualization, was how it works with the putting the orb down, just being able to plant on it. I don't think that works as well anymore because it's too easy to break them, and people are kind of too used to playing, for example, this spot up here on B. But whatever, it's fine. And we'll talk more about it in the fullness of this discussion. So, how are they doing attack? Well, basically, Jonah P does this thing versus, I think it's Leviathan I watched him against, where, look, you mid-lurk once, you just kind of see, okay, how seriously are they taking util down here, then you just don't do it for the rest of the game. Now, that can be really bad against a lot of teams, and again, a certain team that I worked for can speak to. But look, if PRX, this is the thing against PRX's defense, actually, this might be the right call, because like you do it once just to condition a little bit, you don't do it again, because look how PRX play. So Killjoy sticking turret up like here or here. Sage is playing predominantly here, looking for the cross and looking for the rotate back into A if there's an attack on A. You're going to have very little room to actually row up here, to be fair. Like if they continue to play as they've been playing it. So if PRX stick on this sort of mid-protection idea, which they don't seem to not be doing, and if you're playing the Sage comp, then you're kind of inclined to do that anyway. This, because the Sage isn't going to be able to actively stop the pushes here, but she's going to be great on the post plant to some extent. It might work out really well for them that they're not doing this sort of, not doing these lurks. Because this way that they play mid stops those lurks from getting value. And so you've kind of taken a lot of venom out of the comp and out of how they play, but just the way you're playing, so that's really nice. Now, so what they're basically doing is, look, in general, is they'll wait, they'll maybe take a little bit of space up here, come back, take a little space up here, come back. But they're playing for third wave executes for the predominantly. Like really, really late executes. Just come in as late as possible, use as little util as possible to get the bomb down, go back, play post plant. I'm kind of not sure how this is going to work in PRX. Because it could swing drastically either way. You'll see this more on the other side as well. But this could swing drastically either way. My default assumption is probably quite good. Paperwicks don't seem amazing at like just having a guy up here holding against these sorts of late plays. That's not really their style. They kind of want to be taking the action. They don't want to be holding angles. They want to be swinging on you more so. They're set up really well for retakes with the Sage and with the other util. But look, if you can get the plant cleanly enough against them, then either you hold back util for a retake, that becomes a winnable retake in a way that isn't often true for attacking teams on this map in the current meta. Or you can keep on obviously pushing through because you have the Harbour and you have the Gecko, so you have the ability to just push through and just take all of this space. Like I think for the first time this season, we've kind of seen people planting here. You never saw that before. Because some teams have started to realise that you have to do this on attack. But why is Reyna coming back on this map? Well, because you're not just trying to play for this line anymore. You're trying to play for like this line. The smart teams are making this adaptation already. So Valorant has the capacity to really help this with a kit. I don't know if he's maximising the utility of Harbour. He can obviously always get better on it. But I think there's some serious potential there for G2. Now, if we go look at the other side, this is the side that G2 got absolute. So this is the one thing that might seem a bit weird. Why do I think they're going to pick Icebox? Because they just got absolutely stomped on it by T1, who was 0-4 otherwise, right? That is true. I think they're going to prefer it over Bind into PRX because, bro, PRX on Bind. You don't want to play the team that can only do executes on Bind. But okay, look. So PRX's attack is... how to express their attack? So their attack is a little bit weird, right? This Viper Wall. This is weird. I don't remember if there's historical antecedents for it, but whatever, I don't really care. But you can't use it for lurk. It only cuts screens off, basically. It's there so you can just... once you get into like this space, you're not going to be suddenly guy here, kit you on those angles. You're going to be able to get a pretty clean plant off and then play from there, right? It's an execute wall rather than a solar wall. And Viper will still... he'll creep up on this, but the wall doesn't do anything for him except maybe if there's a guy there, he can escape back behind the wall, but for the most part, he can't. Like, most part, it doesn't really do anything for helping his lurks. But he's kind of getting space in the same way as a Reyna does. You just walk into it, right, you tell, and then he'll blind, like, or he'll do something maybe up here. Right, anyway. Viper does have a more standard wall on B as well, I should say, but it's just, this isn't their... they're not particularly good on B. They don't have the Gecko for quick plants. This isn't really where their focus is. Their focus is on attacking A. Killjoy lurks mid just enough to be a threat, but it's Davai. Like, he's not going to do these... he's not going to try these solo lurks. He's not going to try his team lurks, really, even. He's just going to come back with his team and play the game. Like, and there's a point, for example, I think when he's playing against Gen.G, he like misses his own lurk badly. Like, he lurks up here. He should get a kill on the guy down here, and he just completely misses the timing. And the guy gets back, and he just has to come back all the way. So this is... they're not really relying on these lurks on mid. They're not relying on the space on mid. What they're trying to do is they'll wait a little bit, and then they'll just execute on A. Now, if you try and hold sight from like regular positions, they're just going to swing on you. Like, oh, swing out, kills one. They end the round before the post plant most times because if teams try and play them back on site. So, I don't think you want to play full retake against them because you don't want to give them space. I think you have three options in terms if you're the defending team on how to play this. So you either full on sit just behind the wall here and play out of it. These guys kind of have a problem with this because they only have Gecko flashes. It's kind of difficult to get back. Like they have to wait for Gecko to almost get outside of this wall. Yes, Sova has arrow, but that's not going to do anything if they're just waiting on this here. So you either full sit behind the wall and you stack walls over 3 here. You can also choose to contact 2 people up mid constantly, just take space off of them there, and you just say, look, if you're going to do these executes, we're going to get behind you, we're going to threaten you with all this sort of stuff. That can work. I mean, Jet plays up here a lot, so she's going to be able... you have to deal with her on the comeback, so it's not just, oh, well, no, there's going to be 5 here, it's not like solo queue. It can work. Or you play up... basically, you try and play up P. Maybe you put your own smokes down here to support yourself. You put Viper Util up here to just let yourself continue to hold in these angles. You can't really do anything around here. You might be able to do something around here. Or really around here, this sort of area. But even then, that's tricky. So this is the thing. There are a lot of potential avenues to sort of go after this attack. But the problem is it's easier said than done, in that a lot of this is going to be very execution heavy, and it's very easy to sort of choke on that if you're not used to it. Like, if you're not prepared to play that way. Now, as for how G2 currently normally play, again, this is the side that got stomped on by T1. So Killjoy puts her stuff on here. If she's on B, she's going to spread her util out like here and like here and here, like not on the plant itself, just sort of early warning. Plant denial if she's on A, which is there's the 2 plant spots you basically use. You just put nades down on those. Viper basically usually plays opposite to Killjoy, whichever side that's going to be. Gecko generally plays with Viper. This is the thing why I say that I'm not sure Van's the best harbour. Because what he's trying to do on this map, he's trying to cut angles off and slow teams down on A mostly. Well, rather, that's what he's doing now. He's just basically throwing walls out, so he might throw a wall goes down here, wall here, blah, blah, blah. Throw out some stuff. There's some threat of pushing forward, but it's not really realised, which you kind of need to... You need to like condition it once or twice that you actually might have a guy just run up here if you're playing hard, I think. Because of how the pushing wall works. You need to be pushing up... So this is the thing. You need to be throwing up pushing walls for either Gecko or Sova to be good. Gecko's usually playing with Viper, which I get, but I don't think particularly works. But this is the thing. They shut down Crew, they shut down Furia, they shut down EG with it. Now, Furia, not great. But EG and Crew, okay, respectable teams. Remember, we can laugh about Crew not making it to this tournament, but they were doing pretty well beforehand, right? Now, why does it work against them? Well, I kind of think it worked against them because they're not the best teams in the first place, or at least in Furia's case. But this is the thing, the comps they're running are like Gecko comps with no scan util whatsoever, right? They might have KO, they might not. And this is kind of why I think it's so easy, because these stand start, you fight them, you win. If a team has strong has scan util or it has chamber, that becomes a lot more difficult. With scan util, just because they can start throwing out stuff between the walls, and they sort of use the walls to their advantage at that point because of how they have to use Sovereign, they have to use Arrow. With chamber, I just think you never have the threat of being able to get into an advantageous angle, because chamber can just be there and just contest the angle better than you, right? So you have that problem as well. So how will it work against PRX? Because PRX have no scan util, they do have the KO, which is not great. They don't have chamber, they use Jet, which is interesting. I have a feeling the way that they play hardware might frustrate PRX because of how they're going straight from here to here almost, right? They're taking like this space up here, and then they're going straight through. They're not trying to play close, not trying to play on pipes, but you're not letting them walk up. This one's difficult. This is probably the toughest call of all the teams in this video. The variance of this could be huge. This could be 12-0 either way, right? I mean, any map could be, but I am inclined to think this might work out better for G2. And this is kind of where I think this map is going to go. I think G2 is going to win this map, if it comes to it. And I think it will come to it. So I'm going to say G2, 2-1's PRX. So, good job, G2. 2-1 PRX. Good job. Okay, next up we're going to do EDG versus Heretics, and we're going to do split. And again, I'm showing the veto here. This is kind of how I think it's going to turn out. St. Lotus bans, Sunset Breeze split. Right, good. We'll start with the Heretics on attack. And this one's like odd, because it's really, really interesting, despite the fact that it's just literally a mirror matchup. Both teams use the same comps, both teams use very similar concepts. But they're the only teams who are kind of using these concepts. I don't think there are many others who are. So, starting with Heretics on attack. So here's kind of a mea culpa. I kind of most likely underrated Heretics' attack when I did the split video. Because I was kind of fairly dismissive of it. I said I didn't really see what they were doing. 1-3-1, the concept didn't seem to really work. I know that they lost the map ultimately, but it looked a lot better versus G2. Against a team that should work really well into their stuff as well. So, let me explain. So there's a cute little pistol wall they use, by the way, which is separate to their primary wall. It's like this, I think, something like this, where they're like trying to cut off CT. That's cute, yeah. But anyway, this is their main wall. And to be fair to myself as well, they didn't do this too much against Fnatic. Also, that game was heavily disrupted by the tech pauses, they couldn't get a roll on attack at all. I don't know who stole this from who, because I think he maybe did this first. Because it just looks like a lot like Weber, the assistant coach of Heretics. This is kind of the thing he does, but I don't know. Okay, what this wall basically does, it's more like this actually. So Split's lobby almost replicates old Sage wall in an extent on here. with regards to letting you sort of pass for free. You can't really pass for free on stage 1 anymore, because if you take people to you like play the angles here a bit better, it doesn't end up really working out for you. And also you're going to get hit coming up in the first place. In any case, what my point is, if you remember, for a long time the meta was like, yeah, I'm just going to run in here, I'm going to put sage wall down, I'm going to plant B. This was before this little sort of cubby here even existed as well. You're going to plant, you're going to have a bad post plant most likely. But that's how you play split B traditionally. And so this pop shield keeps falling down. The default kind of looks 1-3-1-y, as I said. How it actually plays out and how they played it out against G2 is Viper holds B. He's going to threaten to walk up, but he will actually walk up out here. This is why they've changed the roles, or rather not changed the roles, because they've had Petit Tech playing Raze here rather than having Woots switch over to Raze, because Woots obviously been doing this for a while and Woots used to talk playing these lurks, so he will lurk out here. He will walk out alone out here if he can. Which is, again, like I've said on other things, it's not particularly usual. This stuff kind of gets shut down by teams in playoff Valorant in general, but it is working for them. Was working for them against G2. I think it may continue working for them because people aren't really used to it yet. Cypher doesn't walk up, right? He doesn't have any wall. Like sometimes you have lurkers walk up here. He doesn't do this because he'll have the cage here, but he won't really be able to walk up alone. He knows he can't. But the cam stops them from walking up, and this is the key thing. He still puts the cam up there, maybe they break it, maybe they don't. They can't walk up onto it if he's put stuff down there. He's going to hold. He's going to give enough pressure for his team to get out quickly from there with Razor and Util some rounds. He's going to give them the ability to play mid. And you don't have the same theoretical level of being able to just come back and walk late onto A as you would normally with the Viper wall. But I'm going to be real, you've got enough. With Raze Omen, with the TPs, you've got enough. And this is kind of the thing. So, and this worked really well against G2. I don't remember how many rounds they won, but they were down, 9-3 at the half, and they were looking like they could make a comeback at some point. So this worked really well against G2. And G2 is actually a team where this should work better than this comp. Because, okay, what's the weakness of what they're doing here? Well, one, if a team defaults and they adjust, I will suppose it would have to be Sky, but in G2's case, Fade, and Fade's better for this. Harder towards B. This is way harder because you've got dog and eye pressure here. You can just keep cycling Util. It makes it hard for them to walk up. It makes it hard for them to come back on completely cleanly. 2, your mid contest is pretty standard for the attacking team, I would say. But you need this threat of alert to come out. I think you're still going to get caught in these chokes if you try and just come out conventionally through heaven. And number 3, I think a team that's going to set up well to flood on A, i.e. quick retake as the client's coming down, is really punish how Heretics are playing, which is they are playing this slow. They are playing this predominantly for third wave, so they'll plant like 30 to 20 seconds left in the round. And if you have a team that can punish this flood on A, can flood on A to punish that, it's going to be too difficult. Regardless, this setup in general, I mean, I don't like their B tech, which is like some heaven's wall. It's really, really strong. I think this is far, far stronger than it's kind of looked in the first 2 games that they've played with it. I think teams who are going to be able to play, who are confident playing here, on playing like these sorts of spots, they're going to be able to punish you still. Because that's the vulnerability of this wall almost. But regardless, this is still pretty nasty to play against. And I think ETG, as I said, may be the best defensive split team in the world. They could really struggle with this. Because they are reliant, DRG sort of let them play like really weak sites on B. They sort of stick all their util towards mid and A. Stuck all of their sort of pressure towards mid and A. And it's the sort of same thing. And the main thing is they play Viper Cypher very close, so it's very hard to get out of here, but still. I kind of feel like this matchup in general is going to be pretty heavily attack-sided, which is weird because both of these teams, because EG is like a great defensive team, but I think this could be like both teams win attack 9 rounds. Like this could be one of those. So I think Heretics are. This is why I have Heretics, because I think Heretics are heavily favoured on this attack. Maybe like 7.5, 8.5. Okay, now as for ETG's attack, similar concepts overall. I would say the major difference between the two is that there's a bigger focus for them on leave A quickly, come towards mids, potentially. Well, I would say on A you're more likely to like very quickly walk up, try and take heaven. I would also say that when they go B lobby, they go like 4. They don't try and do it. They don't, this lurk. I don't remember who the player is for EDG, but he doesn't do this lurk. Also, Patitek, I will say, like Patitek will allow himself to get sold on the opposite side of the map on attack, right, just so they can get the entry. The EDG player doesn't do that. So this is kind of hard to call because I've just praised how this attack in general works. It didn't work well against them against the RG. They looked mortal against a team where they should be destroying them. Same is true of Heretics attack, but you can argue, well, Fnatic and G2 far harder opponents. It'll probably work decently well into Heretics' defense, particularly because look, if Heretics are smart and they start playing here, they start like doubling up here, they start doing this sort of stuff, they could just completely shut down this attack, I think. But that's not what they've been doing. Boo's been playing like really, really like lax here. They've been playing not as lax as EDG have been playing this site, but they've been playing pretty lax. I just see the other thing. They will actually let Gen.G just anchor a site, which they don't seem to do with their Cypher. On defense, he's more so playing towards mid. That is an advantage of Heretics because of how EDG are playing this. Because they have some threat to come out of mid, but realistically they're going to be coming out of lobbies. That's where the threat is. So yeah, this is the thing. I think in general this matchup, I would say EDG probably win that defense still. Maybe they get 6.5, 7.5. But I think this match overall will probably go to Heretics. I'm really interested to see how this all works, and like if this something kind of super attack sided, but yeah. And I think this will go to 3 maps. I think Heretics win 2-1. So congratulations to Heretics who have won 2-1. Yay. Okay, now we're going to do Fnatic versus Gen.G. Again, vetoes. I think it's going to go Ascent Breeze, and then we have Lotus as third map. I mean, this is an interesting one, right, for Fnatic, because historically Fnatic have been like incredibly good on this map. They dropped 2 maps all 2023 on it. We avoided playing on them when we came up against them with Vitality, and since then they're 4-4. We probably should have beaten them even with substitute on the roster. But they picked up again recently, done quite well in the last couple of outings on it. Whereas with Gen.G, we've already seen this twice at the tournament. The bad news is for actually reviewing stuff is that once was just FPX, which, as I've said before, the Lotus comp, the FTX run kind of screws a lot of things up. And once was the Leviathan thing where only saw one half of the map, so that's a little bit rough, but what can you do? So starting out with Gen.G on attack. So they obviously manhandled a very, very poor FPX defense on this. But they play very, very... There's not much to say about their attack. Stand wall on A. This wall might be off, by the way. I can't remember. I think it's like more like this, whatever. Doesn't really matter. Against FPX, they wanted to get out A every single round that you let them. So they were just literally, they didn't get you till down here, fine, walk out here, walk out here, walk out here, bam, fight you. And this is the thing. Could this be just an adjustment for FPX? Maybe. But I think this is the opposite of how you play against FPX if you were just trying to counter-strike them on paper. And obviously Gen.G have had a lot of praise for their counter-striking. I don't know how true that is. But I don't think that's a counter-strike thing because it seems weird to me that you do that because FPX were always bringing 3 here and they wanted to fight, whereas they had 1 here. They were asking a lot of that one person there. Maybe it was a plan, but I feel like this is just how they want to play this map ideally. It's just walk out here and fight you. It just worked. They were way better. And they went back to these early CXX, which are the more conventional counter to FPX later in the half. But here's the problem. Whether or not it was a counter-strike, this is what you do against Fnatic. This is Fnatic's worst nightmare. This is absolutely what they don't want you to do. Because Fnatic are very, very good against slow teams in general because of how Alpha can play sometimes in terms of getting space, but more so how Leo plays, how they sort of play against teams trying to play contact into them, where it becomes gun versus gun. This is why they've done so well to Na'Vi historically. This is kind of why they play Heretics so well, because Heretics, if you notice, have really slowed down their gameplay, particularly without Mini Boo. Because remember, being able to play fast is a privilege to some extent, because you have to have the players in synergy, or you get the idea. I think just on the basis of this plays very heavily into Gen.G's favour. And I kind of think that I feel like Fnatic are going to be one step behind the entire map on attack. They could really struggle to get out here on attack. So the way that they want to do this is they sort of fight you. If they can get through, great. But if not, then they want to be able to get like someone up here, generally Killjoy Fade, threaten then a B split, because then they get their guys forward. Eventually, you move guys back, but these guys are like here. They can, and then they'll start just like after 3-4 rounds in, they'll just start dogging out of here. They'll just take that space of content and start dogging out. Now this all falls apart if you don't have, if you can't get the space on A, if you get fought on A. So I have to feel like Gen.G is heavily favoured on this side. Yeah. Now looking at Gen.G's defense, Fnatic's attack. I don't know why that's off the screen, but whatever. Doesn't really matter. Okay. So a couple of things to notice here. Firstly, I've praised this before. Gen.G Killjoy usage is really, really interesting. With the way that they spread the turret out, they spread the nades out. They're not trying so hard to control this choke on C. They're prepared to sort of play back here. That's all really nice. That's kind of Fnatic aren't doing things entirely dissimilar. But yeah, and also with which I think I got those. Let me see. Okay, I got those actually messed up a little bit. So Fnatic don't have those A setups. They haven't really showed those A setups, whereas Gen.G have shown a willingness to just full flex the Killjoy into A, which most teams won't do. They'll have a stick heavily to C or they'll stick heavily to B. They won't really have everyone A. And have AU2 is just basically prevent a deck. It was generally coupled with a double push onto B, I should say. This was like a 3-4 rounds in as well. Okay. So they're smart about how to use the Killjoy, that's great. The other thing they're really smart about is how they use Fade. Because this is, you saw from Fnatic, what Fnatic wants to do, and what most teams want to do is they bring 3 people here, they'll throw you 2 down here, the Omen kills us anymore, but it gets him back off, and then Omen TP's on here, and he's got like the first angle, and if they come onto him, he can fall back here, he can fall back here, he can get out between these walls. That's how Omen works on this map, how everyone plays it. I don't think it's that good anymore, because it kind of relies on the solo lurks happening. And bro, they won't him with Viper. The Viper's walking up here, getting a solo lurk, and then he's in here to contest that. He gets one, he gets out. It doesn't happen anymore. Like, again, we played Liquid on this map, I believe, during playoffs last year. Nats did this all the time. It was so easy just to shut them down. Those solo lurks don't work if teams are paying attention to it and teams know what to look for. So therefore, him being up here and keeping the space is kind of not that valuable, because if you bring 3-4 people through it, then he's probably not going to get out. He's probably going to, maybe he dies straight up, maybe he gets trade 1 for 1. That's not really favourable, because these guys have usually moved way off by that point as well, so they're not in a position to refrag. Now, this is why I think what they're doing with the phase, because they generally have Fade play out of here. This is really, really smart. Because it's kind of conventional that, yeah, look, this is a really nice position to sort of hold. You can hold it a solo anchor. You can generally threaten to get kills both sides. You've got an okay chance of getting out and getting to backside if you get pushed. But most teams play stuff here that doesn't really have great util to support that. Fade's eye is just out this door. To go here, to go here, to go wherever. Her dog's out of this door, which basically allows her to stop any attempt to... When she just hits button, you can't really rush her, and she just gets a massive amount of pressure on here, and she can do this. She has a eye coming back, she can sort of cycle her info util, she can do this off cycle. If Fade's going to stick to this door, and I believe Gen.G use Odin a lot as well, because there's like really soft walls out of here, so you can get spray kills here, which Enzo obviously on Liquid has done this a lot during the EMEA regular season. It's really powerful. And this is the thing. Given that this is weak, given that I think this is weak, Having him run back and like cover other places and just have her play here, this is great. So now what's the counter to that? The counter is you start fighting incredibly hard for A. Like, you full start fighting for A. You start fighting for the way in which Gen.G have done it, where you have 3 people out here, you're basically threatening every single time to come up here and take door off them if they don't contest it. There's no reason that Fnatic couldn't do that. It's not been their style, and we know what they're like for adaptations. So again, on this side as well, I think Gen.G probably somewhat favoured. Which means in the match itself, I think they're favoured to win this map. And I think what that basically comes down, to be honest, I don't know if you can get here. I think Gen.G are a lot better than Fnatic right now. I kind of feel like it would be 2-0. But if it gets Lotus, or if Lotus gets picked or something like that, I think Gen.G are favoured to win this map as well. Now to finish up, we have Ascent and we have 100 Thieves versus Foot on Ascent. I'm going to say don't take these Valor plants entirely. Don't fixate too much on them. I know like the nade stuff is off here. There's some stuff that's off in general. I mean, this is kind of the most boring of the 4 maps, the most uninteresting of the 4 matchups, but there is something here at least, and I'm going to hopefully illustrate this, right? So, we're starting on Foot's defense. So of the 2 teams, 100 Thieves just basically play this like almost everyone else does, right? They play standard comp. They just, like they've played it quite a few times. Standard comp. The attack concepts are really simple. Killjoy plays B, just holds B out here. Jet's lurking somewhere around mid, basically, probably up here. 3 of them are going to hold outside B. They're not a slow team by any means. They're not looking for these third wave, i.e. 40 seconds or later, executes. They are looking to, if you let them walk up B at all, they will instantly walk up being plant here at like 120. And just let you play the post plant. If you want to like handshake into that, they'll happily do that with you. They lean quite heavily towards A over on plants. They didn't seem to go B too much. This is all. There's nothing to say here really on that. That's kind of more conventional. That's very conventional Ascent stuff. It's kind of a solved game at this point. It's basically, yeah, great. You take the retake and then hopefully you'll win like 50-50. More obviously, you hope you're better at the retakes. You go B on like some gimmick rounds. You just basically try and hope the nades are in the right place, skip over them, get onto a plant again. Hopefully you win the post plant. Maybe you go back there late, just as a thing that you clear out the util. There's not much to say about their attack in a sense. Now, Foot's defense. So it's very interesting on this map. I think there's a perception that there probably is a perception if you're coming from another region that they're a Turkish team. Turkish teams love Ascent, have been playing it domestically. They have not been playing this domestically at all, even though they have a really good reputation on it in Europe. Funny enough, we floated it against them. They picked it. We lost. A certain someone who will not be named got really mad about it. Moved on. Won the series 2-1. Great. That's the last time they played it domestically. They didn't play it the entire season. It wasn't really that they were getting target banned against them, although teams like Carmine and I think Heretics have it as a perma in Europe, which helps. But they haven't been playing it domestically. And then DRG kind of took him close on it at Masters when they did play it, which was obviously like a day or 2 ago. Why don't they like? They don't like us anymore. Almost seems like, and why is that? Well, I kind of think. Look, Gates, the head coach of Foot, it's been a long time. He and his staff have been doing amazing work recently. Foot have gotten a lot. Like, this was one of the things. It was like, how well is this team going to transition from last year to next? Because they've been together a long time, substantially. You've got a massive buff from that. You change the players who are better, but they are newer players. Obviously, Cena never really sort of felt like he fit in at Na'Vi, it felt like. Yetuye has been an incredible player, but Fireflux last year did not work at all. This is kind of one of these things that they have also Yetuye on the team, it didn't work. Whatever. I think it speaks about, but this season they've gotten better. They lost a step for a little bit in terms of the stuff that really made them good with regards to ability to trade and offer each other and that sort of stuff. They didn't really lose much sort of ground. I think it kind of speaks to the work that he's been doing strategically, that they're just not picking this thing regularly, I think, because they don't see room to innovate on it. That's kind of it, I think. Now, with that being said, the funny thing is, they are ahead of not every other team, they're ahead of most teams on Ascent quite drastically still. Now, on their attack, they're a little fancier than most teams. Not just AXX, Oh, that's not, we're doing the defense now, sorry. I'm not going to cut that. They're on their defense right now. They don't play typical defensive setups. So Killjoy, generally, for most teams, she'll just play stick her stuff on B, she'll try and block lane, she'll try and block button. She will, and she'll put turret here. Yes, she'll do that, fine. But what she will also do is she will literally just run over to A. And she has like a setup here which is like, she's got 3 nades on every single nade on button, she's got turrets hiding somewhere. Like an anti-A site play. Most teams won't do this. Most teams just straight up won't do this. The other thing is they have the Jet. They've seen it on Jet. He will actively control B lobby in a way which, or A lobby even, in a way which most teams won't do, because he will. I don't think he plays this cubby, but he will play here. He'll walk up. He will play this line. Remember, the whole thing is you can't really get out here against the Killjoy that's being active, but you can at least stop it. You can get info or stop A execute very, very early if you play this actively. It's just a case of the risk reward generally isn't worth it, which is why most teams don't do it, but it's good. Omen just does what Omen does, which is he sets a one way on A and he just waits. Nothing particularly thing there. Killjoy and not Killjoy. KO and Sova play around a little bit. But the point is they're a lot more aggro than most teams, and the Killjoy's a lot more creative in the setups than most teams. And they are just going to stop some A executes doing this stuff. Again, this is not an exact sort of diagram, but they seem to have like 2 or 3 different setups that are very, very not conventional for stopping A executes and stopping A split plays. Which is cool. The thing is though, DRG punished them once with an A execute, where they just walked into the site. And then Foot got scared and kind of played conventionally the rest of the half and lost 5 of the next 6 rounds. This is kind of a thing that they do towards the latter half of rounds. Half of rounds, yeah. I don't know why, they come in with smart stuff. They kind of panic, they stop doing it. I think they probably finally overthink things a little bit. They might make games way closer than they need to, like, because they could. I feel like this team stuck to their guns. They could win 8 rounds of defense against most teams in the world. But it is what it is. You know, they stick on their game. This is pretty strong overall. Killjoy's going to make you scared of going A, frustrate you enough times. Fire can then just take the Odin and start playing. If you try and play different angles, you place Odin here, he'll play Odin here, blah blah blah. I think this is overall a more developed approach to playing this map than most teams you sort of see, including 100 Thieves. They just need to be prepared to keep butting heads because 100 Thieves are going to keep running into them. Now, other way around, 100 Thieves defense, conventional. Sova's B, but he moves a lot because he's not going to get those Odin kills very often. Killjoy anchors B, she gets first angle, whatever, and then just sort of runs back, probably retakes. Jet, K or Omen mostly play around A. She'll play mid like 1 round just because she can. They might do some sort of stuff to try and take A lobby early on. Most likely KO is going to fall back then to Marky, he's going to fall back to here. Very conventional, very, very normal. Nothing really to say here. Meta for 2 years. The one thing I'll say is they're pretty smart how to use the util on B, specifically of Killjoy. They kind of make it hard to plan and execute against them. This does mean that they seem to leave this lane area lax quite a lot, because they figure, well, teams aren't going to try and go lane anymore, because this is why the whole thing was, for a long time, has been just, you put 2 nades here and people can't get out. But then you have to commit 2 nades to do that, so it's not the best, right? Point is, I think they're, like, teams who just do that really, like, break the tower and do that really never execute, just try and challenge you on site, they're going to do well against them. A's harder to crack. I think you can get some mid splits in, particularly if IC's not able, like, can't even threaten this, he's on rifle. But it's a classic Ascent defense thing, there aren't obvious weaknesses. You've got to execute decently well, your advantage is going to be how you play post plant, whatever. Now for Foot's attack, they're getting a little fancier than most teams in this map. It's not just A executes, which most teams just basically fight. This is the entire map for them now. They play 2 wave concepts where they'll use the first wave of info util, which is they've got good info util, regular comp, move up mid. I don't know if it's the exact setup or whatever. Then they can either, maybe they have someone come around here, they've had someone come around here and wait, and they execute onto B. Maybe they hope that someone's moved off of here, and they're only facing 1 down here, and they try and get onto A, whatever. They have pretty weak protect against B lurks as a result, is one thing here, because a lot often Killjoy will just stand here. They kind of play where they just have to tow it. So maybe Kill just move up into, I don't know, here, or she's out mid or whatever. It's a little bit weak against the lurk, but the lurk doesn't really happen. For the most part, teams just don't run their guys up here. It doesn't really matter. Point is, they have more developed attacks on Ascent, and they don't get to the point where they try and overcomplicate it, because I mean, I've seen some. This is the thing. Ascent seems like a map where you can play it free wave, i.e. you do something first wave of util, get to 1 o'clock, 1:00, do something second wave of util, move up somewhere else, and then you execute your third wave of util. That's kind of a trap for this map. It's always been a trap for this map. You kind of want to be thinking of but I think the way to play it best is literally just you get this space on mid, you get a big amount of space on mid, and then you do something out of that. You think of it as a 2-wave map. If you do that, you're great. You're going to do better than most teams. Again, the threat is just to get wrestled. Against DRG, they're 10-8 up, goes to OT, because they lose one round where, I don't remember how they lost the round, but then they just stopped touching mid. He's not even playing here, they're just playing like, bro, they're literally playing like this. So 4 people try and run out onto the site and it doesn't work. Or they're still playing 2-wave concept, but they're not taking any space on the map. They line up in a lobby, they might line up in 2 lobbies if they're really lucky, and they wait and they wait and they wait, and they hit on second or even hit on third, and then it's just, well, we have better setups to stop you. I mean, it feels at some point like Foot are just their own worst enemy. The good news is I think that the way that they play will work generally well into 100 Thieves, because it beats standard stuff, this is standard stuff. As long as they don't lose their head, they should win this. They should win this map. That's the good news. The bad news is I'm pretty high on G2 now. I don't know if not G2, I'm 100 Thieves. I'm pretty high on 100 Thieves. The only thing that scares me is I don't know if the series gets there in the first place, unless they go against form and they just pick Ascent and say, look, you can have defense, we're going to beat you anyway. Because if 100 Thieves get the Vita that I think they're going to get, which is Split and Bind. Is it Split and Bind? Yeah. I think they're going to get Split and Bind at this point. I think 100 Thieves probably win both those maps. This is 2-0. Unfortunately for Foot. Even though I think they're better on this map. So, congratulations 100 Thieves. Congratulations to Gen.G. I didn't give him a thumbs up on the last one. But that's kind of where I see it at the moment. Right, and that is the video. Hopefully you should be seeing this evening. Pulled some shifts to get this done today. But I think it's interesting, right? It tells us a lot about these teams, tells us a lot about these matchups. Who knows how we'll be in the predictions. So just for the record, the predictions were G2 2-1 PRX, 100 Thieves 2-0 Foot, Team Heretics 2-1 EDG, and Gen.G 2-0 Fnatic. We'll see if I'm right or not. But yeah, and I think we learned a lot about the teams, we learned a lot about Fnatic, we learned in particular, I think. I'm really interested to see that Heretics EDG match. I think that's going to be hype as all hell as long as we get that split now. But yeah, that's where we are. So yeah, thanks for watching and hope to see you next time.